May 15, 1999. Highgrove Estate, 11:47 p.m. Prince Charles dropped to his knees for the third time in 5 years, tears streaming down his face as he begged the woman he'd loved for 30 years to finally become his wife. But Camilla Parker Bowles looked down at the future King of England with cold calculation and said the two words that would drive him to madness: "Not yet." What Charles didn't realize was that Camilla's rejections weren't about fear or timing. They were about power, and she was about to teach a prince that the crown meant nothing compared to control over a man's heart. But the most shocking part wasn't Charles's desperate proposals. It was discovering how Camilla had orchestrated each rejection as part of a master plan that would make her the most powerful woman in Britain. The first proposal, 1997. December 31st, 1997, New Year's Eve, Highgrove Estate, 11:58 p.m. Just 4 months after Diana's death, Charles couldn't contain his desperation any longer. As midnight approached and fireworks lit up the Gloucestershire sky, he pulled out a ring that had been burning a hole in his pocket since Diana's funeral. "Camilla," he said, his voice shaking with emotion, "I've waited my entire life for this moment. Diana is gone. The obstacles are gone. Will you marry me?" Camilla looked at the ring, a stunning sapphire surrounded by diamonds, worth over £200,000, and felt a surge of satisfaction, not because she was happy, but because she finally held all the cards. "Charles," she said softly, her voice like velvet over steel, "it's too soon. People will say we're celebrating over Diana's grave." Charles fell to his knees right there in his own drawing room. "I don't care what people say. I love you. I've always loved you." "I know you do, darling," Camilla replied, gently lifting his chin. "But if we marry now, I'll always be the woman who replaced Diana. I want to be the woman who saved the future king." Charles didn't understand, but Camilla's first rejection wasn't about public opinion. It was about positioning herself as indispensable rather than simply available. You won't believe the psychological warfare Camilla was really playing, the power of calculated rejection. What Charles didn't know was that Camilla had spent decades studying the psychology of power, particularly how to control powerful men. She had learned from observing Diana's mistakes and the Queen's successes. "Never give a man everything he wants immediately," Camilla had confided to her sister Annabel. "The moment you become accessible, you lose your power over him." Camilla's strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. Make Charles feel like the pursuer, never the pursued. Position marriage as a privilege he had to earn, not a right he deserved. Use each rejection to extract concessions and promises. Build anticipation until he would agree to any terms. "Diana gave Charles everything too quickly," Camilla observed. "She was so grateful to be chosen that she never demanded to be valued. I won't make that mistake." Between 1997 and 2002, Camilla systematically trained Charles to see marriage to her as the ultimate prize, not an inevitable conclusion to their relationship. Don't miss this shocking revelation about her second rejection. The second proposal, 1999. May 15, 1999. Highgrove Estate, the breaking point. 18 months after his first proposal, Charles had become increasingly desperate. Camilla's constant presence in his life, combined with her refusal to commit, was driving him to emotional extremes. "Camilla, I can't live like this anymore," Charles pleaded during what was supposed to be a romantic dinner. "I need you to be my wife. I need the security of knowing you're mine." "Yours." Camilla raised an eyebrow. "Charles, I'm not a possession to be owned." "That's not what I meant. I meant, I need to know you won't leave me. I need to know this is forever." Camilla set down her wine glass and studied Charles carefully. He was 50 years old, heir to the throne, and completely emotionally dependent on her approval. Perfect. "Charles, marriage isn't about security. It's about readiness. Are you ready to make me your equal partner, not just your wife?" "What does that mean?" "It means I want to be consulted on all royal decisions. I want my own household staff. I want to be treated as future Queen Consort from the moment we marry, regardless of what the palace says." Charles nodded eagerly. "Yes, anything." "Then prove it." Show me that you can stand up to your family for me. Show me that you choose me over their approval. But I have chosen you. Have you? Because every time the queen disapproves, you still defer to her. Every time the palace objects, you still ask for permission instead of announcing decisions. This time when Charles dropped to his knees, it wasn't romantic. It was pathetic. Please, Camilla. I'm begging you. I'll do anything. Camilla looked down at him with a mixture of pity and satisfaction. Not yet, Charles. But soon. You're not ready for how Camilla used this rejection to gain unprecedented power. The manipulation escalate. After his second rejection, Charles became increasingly erratic and dependent. Camilla had successfully created an addiction, not to her love, but to the hope of her acceptance. The psychological breakdown. Charles began exhibiting classic signs of emotional dependency, calling Camilla multiple times per day for reassurance, becoming jealous of her time spent with friends or family, making increasingly dramatic gestures to prove his love, offering her anything she wanted, if she would just marry him. The strategic extraction. With each desperate plea, Camilla extracted more concessions. Charles fired staff members she didn't like. He rearranged his royal schedule around her preferences. He began publicly defending their relationship despite palace objections. He started demanding the Queen and Prince Philip show Camilla respect. Every no I give him makes the eventual yes more valuable, Camilla told her confidant, Lady Amanda Parker Bowles. By the time I agree to marry him, he'll be so grateful that he'll give me everything I want without me having to ask. The financial leverage. Most importantly, Charles began transferring significant assets to Camilla. Properties were placed in her name for security. She was given access to royal accounts for household expenses. Expensive jewelry and art were purchased as gifts, but legally belonged to her. When they eventually married, Camilla would be financially independent and virtually impossible to remove from royal life. Wait until you see what happened during the third proposal. The third proposal, 2002, January 18, 2002, Sandringham Estate, the final gambit. By 2002, Charles was a broken man. 5 years of Camilla's calculated rejections had reduced the future king to an emotional wreck who lived in constant fear that she might leave him. The Queen Mother's death in March 2002 had removed Camilla's biggest opponent, but instead of celebrating, Camilla saw an opportunity for her ultimate power play. Charles, she said during what he thought was a routine weekend at Sandringham, I've been thinking about us. Charles's heart raced. Was this finally the moment? I love you, she continued, but I'm not sure marriage is what I want anymore. Charles went completely white. What do you mean? I mean, I've been happy as we are. Marriage would change everything. The scrutiny, the pressure, the restrictions. Maybe it's better if we just continue as we are. Charles was devastated. Camilla, you can't mean that. I do mean it. Unless what? Unless you can guarantee me something that makes marriage worth the sacrifice. Charles would have agreed to anything at that moment. What? Name it? I want to be Queen Consort when you become king. Not Princess Consort, not Duchess. Queen Consort with full honors and recognition. Charles knew this was political dynamite. The palace, parliament, and public would resist. But looking at Camilla's calm, resolved expression, he realized she was serious. Camilla, I can't promise that. It's not just my decision. Then, it's not just my decision to marry you. For the third time, Charles dropped to his knees. But this time, he was sobbing. Please don't leave me. I'll figure it out. I'll make it happen. Just please don't leave me. Camilla allowed him to cry for exactly 30 seconds before gently touching his face. Charles, darling, I'm not leaving you, but I need to know that when you become king, I'll be your queen in every sense of the word. You won't believe how this third rejection led to Camilla's ultimate victory. The master plan revealed Camilla's 3 rejections weren't random. They were a carefully orchestrated campaign to transform herself from Charles's mistress into his equal partner and future queen. Rejection None 1. 1997. Established that she couldn't be taken for granted. Rejection Num 2. Extracted promises of royal treatment and influence. Rejection Num 3. Secured commitment to Queen Consort status. Each no had made Charles more desperate, more willing to concede power, more committed to making Camilla's demands a reality. The genius wasn't in saying no, royal biographer Penny Junor later observed. The genius was in making each no feel like a test of Charles's love that he had to pass to prove himself worthy of her. The psychological transformation. By 2002, Charles had been completely reprogrammed. He saw marriage to Camilla as a privilege, not his right. He viewed her demands as reasonable requirements, not unreasonable requests. He became her advocate within the royal family, instead of asking her to adapt to them. The strategic victory. When Camilla finally agreed to marry Charles in 2003, she had achieved something unprecedented. She had negotiated herself into a position of power rather than simply accepting whatever position was offered. The woman who said no 3 times had effectively rewritten the terms of royal marriage, proving that sometimes the most powerful word in the English language isn't yes, it's not yet. Don't miss the final shocking twist, the ultimate manipulation. February 10, 2005. Windsor Castle, the final victory. When Charles and Camilla's engagement was announced in 2005, the public was told a romantic story about love conquering all obstacles. The reality was far more calculated. The negotiated settlement. Camilla's 3 rejections had forced Charles to negotiate a royal marriage like a business merger. She would be styled as Duchess of Cornwall initially. But Charles had privately committed to making her Queen Consort when he became king. She would have her own household, staff, and budget. Charles's behavior. He defended her publicly whenever criticism arose. He ensured she was included in all major royal events and decisions. He kept his promise about Queen Consort status, despite initial palace resistance. Camilla's position. She gradually increased her public role and responsibility. She successfully rehabilitated her public image through strategic charity work. She became indispensable to Charles's emotional stability and public effectiveness. She achieved full acceptance as a senior working royal. The Queen's capitulation. Even Queen Elizabeth, who had initially opposed Camilla, eventually embraced her. In 2022, the Queen publicly endorsed Camilla becoming Queen Consorts. She included Camilla in major family events and photographs. She relied on Camilla to manage Charles's moods and decisions. The psychology of power. Camilla's strategy revealed profound truths about power dynamics in relationships. The scarcity principle. By making herself scarce and uncommitted, Camilla increased her perceived value exponentially. Charles wanted what he couldn't have, more than what was freely given. The investment trap. Each rejection forced Charles to invest more emotional energy, time, and resources in pursuing Camilla. The more he invested, the less willing he became to walk away. The reframe strategy. Camilla successfully reframed their relationship dynamic from Charles choosing a wife to Camilla considering a proposal. This psychological reversal gave her all the negotiating power. The long game. While Diana had rushed into marriage and spent years fighting for respect, Camilla spent years fighting for the right terms before agreeing to marriage. The ultimate irony. The most shocking aspect of Camilla's 3 rejections was how they completely reversed the traditional royal marriage dynamic. Traditional model. Royal chooses spouse. Spouse feels grateful for selection. Spouse adapts to royal life and expectation, and royal maintains power and control. Camilla's model. Spouse makes royal prove worthiness. Royal feels grateful for acceptance. Royal adapts to spouse's requirements. Spouse gains power and influence. By saying no 3 times, Camilla had effectively made Charles court her like any other woman, despite his royal status. The final truth. When Charles finally became king and Camilla became queen, the coronation represented the ultimate validation of her strategy. The woman who had rejected 3 proposals from a future king had successfully manipulated her way to a crown. The historical assessment. Royal historians now recognize Camilla's approach as one of the most successful long-term strategic campaigns in modern royal history. She had achieved every goal: marriage to Charles on her terms, full royal status and recognition, Queen Consort title and honors, power and influence within the monarchy, public acceptance, and respect. The psychological analysis. Behavioral experts studying their relationship noted that Camilla had essentially trained Charles using intermittent reinforcement, the most powerful tool for creating psychological dependence. Each rejection, followed by eventual acceptance, created an addictive cycle that made Charles increasingly desperate for her approval and willing to meet her demands. The gender revolution. Most significantly, Camilla had reversed centuries of royal marriage tradition, where women competed for royal favor. Instead, she had made a royal compete for her favor. The woman who said "not yet" 3 times had proven that in the game of royal romance, the real power belonged to whoever was willing to walk away. Some women dream of marrying a prince. Camilla Parker Bowles made a prince dream of marrying her. And that made all the difference.